Eamon, an anchor over at MS Now, posted a video on social media where he says that while testing out a feature on Instagram and Facebook that allows you to directly curate your own algorithm, he ran into some difficulties.
So this is a new feature that I just discovered myself, but apparently Meta now, and Instagram specifically, allows you to set specific topics that you are either interested in or things that you are not interested in for your algorithm. So basically you can kind of set your own algorithm on the topics that you like and what you want to see more of and what you don't want to see a lot of. So I tried to create a tab for, the Middle East. I keep tabs on what's going on there a lot. So I like to kind of stay abreast of all the developments. So I created a tab for Israel and it let me do that. And then I wanted to add a tab for Gaza and Palestine. And it said these topics are not supported. And so I tried that again and again, and you can see, as I'm showing you there on my screen, it just wouldn't let me create a tab for Gaza and Palestine.
As you saw in the clip, he wanted more content pertaining to the Middle East, specifically Israel and Palestine. Unfortunately, one was favored and accepted by the Meta algorithm, and the other was not. So just a quick word on algorithms. No one really knows how they work, meaning no one knows what certain platforms prioritize or rank highly in the code that's provided to the platform. And at some point, the algorithm begins to take on a life of its own anyway. So even the coders behind the algorithms can't entirely dictate or control how the algorithm performs when dealing with millions of social media profiles. So if you look at the world of social media marketing, influencing, etc., there are always best practices being rolled out, usually every year or so, that tell you how best to work with the algorithm to your advantage. So the general idea is that you want to feed the algorithm whatever it seems to be currently consuming and rewarding so that you can be the one to reap those rewards, which usually means better reach for your posts, which means more visibility for your business or whatever. So since the algorithm is unknown, people are really just looking at patterns to determine what's working for the algorithm and what isn't. Ultimately though, a good rule of thumb is that the algorithm will always reward content that keeps people on the platform longer. That way they can show more ads to more people through your content, and then they can get paid off of this free to use platform. And that is all well and good, but the dark side to all of this is that, for one, if the platform is free to use, then those platforms are getting something out of letting all of these people have free access to them. Ad revenue, yes, but also your data, but that's another story. For another, the algorithm gets to determine to an extent what people see and what they don't see. Even though the algorithm is its own animal, the powers that be can still tweak it and influence the algorithm's performance. Just look at the way Elon Musk is constantly fighting with his own AI bot, Grok, in Elon's effort to get Grok to say only what Elon wants it to say and nothing more.
Controversy now swirling around Elon Musk's Grok AI chatbot, which appeared to post anti-Semitic comments that praised Adolf Hitler. Elon Musk responding to questions about the post, blaming Grok's anti-Semitic comments on the bot being, quote, too eager to please.
It's not exactly the same, but the analogy still makes the point. And these social media platforms aren't being run by the government. They're technically within their rights to do whatever they want with the platform. The most people can do in response is just to stop using them altogether. We're not paying customers, so we don't have any leverage that way. But since most people are addicted to their phones and social media, which is intentional of course, it's unlikely that a boycott of relevant significance is any kind of real or imminent threat to these giant tech companies. Sometimes these restrictions can be a good thing if harmful content is limited, but oftentimes they serve political or economic interests. What you end up with is controlled media that's being disguised and sold as something that is organic and laissez-faire.
It had me thinking a little bit about how important the algorithm is to what we're able to see on a daily basis. A lot of organizations, Human Rights Watch, tech organizations have been tracking this topic and have talked about how big companies and algorithms suppress content from specific regions, depending on criteria that is not always transparent or even clear as to why they do it. But I just experienced it firsthand there, and I thought anecdotally it would be something that y'all should be aware of.
The thought is that so much of our worldview is seen through these tiny screens, through short form content, and through someone else's, usually a stranger's, experiences. Someone else decides what's relevant or important for us to see or understand. And to an extent, the same can be said for traditional media. The same can be said for a platform like this one. You know, I didn't crowdsource this video topic, and no one told me how to present this information to you. But you have a choice whether or not you want to consume it, or if you want to consume more content from me or even from TYT. You have some degree of choice there. With social media and short form content, I feel like you just get the illusion of choice, because yes, you can decide who you follow. You can curate your algorithm specifically to the things you want to see more or less of to a degree. But when most people use these platforms, they're usually not just scrolling on their own feeds. They're scrolling through the reels and the shorts. Even on their own feeds, they still get all kinds of related or suggested content from creators that they might not follow. We have less control over what we see than we think, and even if and when we're able to find some kind of happy balance, we then run the risk of siloing ourselves and our beliefs. Either way, we're not getting an accurate or realistic broad worldview from simply viewing the world as we see it from our beds or couches. And if you've watched enough of my content, you probably already know how I feel about social media. For someone who does this job, I am very inactive on my socials. Most of the time, I don't even have the apps on my phone, and most of the time, my phone is sitting in another room entirely. I post to my Instagram grid maybe a couple times a year. I'll post to my stories more often, but really still not that much. Something that a lot of creators have been reporting recently too across various platforms is that the reach they get for posts is not what it used to be, and now the platforms are basically requiring them to pay to boost their posts just to get the same amount of reach that they used to. Since so many of them earn a living through social media in some way, shape, or form, they feel as though they have no choice but to pay to boost. I've noticed it a little bit myself, but I don't stress about it because I don't get paid through social media. But for a lot of these creators, they're locked into a relationship with these platforms that they can't now easily break from. And there are plenty of reasons why Meta, a giant corporation that is unapologetically in bed with the Trump administration, would have an incentive to push more pro-Israel content while blocking content pertaining to Gaza and Palestine. I mean, I guess Mark Zuckerberg didn't learn anything from the disaster in Myanmar, or maybe he did learn something. Maybe he learned all the wrong lessons. Maybe he learned about how influential platforms like his actually are and can be. He learned how easily people can be misled and manipulated, and he learned how powerful he can be, and boy does he love that power. We all need to be more careful over who we allow to have power over us. I am cautiously optimistic that people are becoming more aware of these things now, but I still worry that our lives have already become so irreversibly tied to these platforms that it will be very, very difficult to break out of. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.